this is our target reveal for Mysteries 20. So, Daz, you've been working on this for months, and you've not explained how you haven't had the foggiest idea about what this is or whatever.
Yeah, no, I think we've been working on. Well, I've been working on it since is it October, November, so it's quite a while now, 3 months. I think I've done 9 paper sessions on this now, and one big long video of 9 mini videos. So it's a big confusing target to me because it seems quite complex and intricate.
Okay, well, it does have many parts. So why don't we start by giving you the feedback for the first part. Now, there's actually 4 major parts in it, and you did the first 3. So it's 20A, 20B, and 20C.
Yep.
And so let me. And I didn't have you do 20D because you were doing other work for the project as well, which is the graphics and stuff. So you can only squeeze so much blood out of a rock, or out of a person, or out of a sap out of a tree, or whatever the proper analogy is. I don't know, but there's only so much I can squeeze out of everybody. So anyway, I'm going to send you the target. Excuse me, I'm going to send you the target right now. I just did that, so why don't you open your email. This is for 20A.
Okay, yeah, I will open my email now. Let's see what this is. Bear with me a second while it downloads. Right, okay. Okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense then.
All right, so you've seen the target?
I have, yes.
Okay, so for everybody else who's listening, why don't I say what it is out loud?
Yep.
The remote viewer will remote view the historical person known as Moses during the moment when he was first creating or receiving the 10 Commandments. So it's a pretty open-ended cue, meaning we're assuming that there is a person, and we know for a fact, it's verifiable, that the 10 Commandments exist. So they had to be given to somebody. And so when this guy Moses first got him, what was going on? That was basically the nature of this cue here. So do you remember much about your session? It was an unbelievably great session.
I'm just trying to look through it now because there's 9 of them in total. So yeah, and it's kind of interesting because straight off on the bat of 20A, my first session, I'm not sure I honed right in on the person in this first session. It seems like I honed in on a box or something within a cave, and then a message and something stored within a box.
Actually, if I remember the session quite well, if you look at it really carefully, you'll see the very first thing you did was focus in on an artifact.
Yes.
And
yes.
It was, and you mentioned that it was a historical artifact, and it had power of some type, and you kept focusing just, and this is very unusual for you because you normally go after people and places and stuff. This whole first couple sessions dealt just with this thing, this artifact,
yes,
and how it had powers, and it was like an unusual type of thing, and you described the shape of it, and you did describe it in a box, but the thing is you also described the artifact itself, and it's
yes, lots of interesting information about it resonating in energy and being used for communication, high vibrations and subtle energies resonating from it, and that it was a man-made from with a stone surface. So yeah, very interesting stuff there.
Yeah, and as you went on, you went after how the box came about, the people that were around the box, and then you eventually got the lead character, the main figure, and the main person in the entire thing. Do you have those sessions in front of you?
I do. Yes. Yep.
Take a look. It's great to see you sort of discovering what your own stuff was rather than me telling you what it was.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the second session now. Talking about the ancient artifact. It's interesting because right off from the very end of the first session, and even more so in the second session, I had this deep connection that this was all to do with some kind of godlike power, kind of energy, communication. Right from the start, I knew that this felt like it was some kind of message or communication between man and God. So I think
you had that all over, and I don't remember you ever having a session. I've been working with you for, I don't know, way over a decade with like regular projects, and I don't remember you ever having a session that was anywhere close to this, that even looked like this or had any type of. You were actually picking up. No, you were not defining what the God issue is, but you were clearly defining. I'm looking at your AOL here on page 6 of your second session, and it has some type of subtle energy, and it feels powerful, and the concept was a godlike type of concept that was coming through in the artifact, like the artifact was somehow connected to a God concept in some way.
Yeah, definitely, and it says there it feels powerful, and I definitely remember feeling that throughout the entire session, and the fact that the whole location for the entire target felt like it was, it was hot, dry, Middle Eastern as well.
I'm looking right now at page 7 of your second session, and you write as clear as day, Middle East.
Yeah,
and the next page, it was ancient in feeling, and it was in some type of a building that had sort of a heavy feeling, like a church-like feeling. A sort of a shielded type of thing, but this object wasn't just apparently a passive object.
No, it didn't seem to be. And bear in mind, if the target is the 10 Commandments, weren't they stored in the fabled Ark of the Covenant?
Well, I didn't want to go after any mythology, any type of historical stuff that may or may not be true in terms of. I wanted it to be a neutral type of target cue. So it does look, though, as if they were stored in something, and this guy Moses apparently got them. And we haven't actually covered the Moses person because that comes in your later session.
He does, yes.
But it does appear that it came in a box. It came in
but what's interesting for me, from now knowing the target, is that I kept feeling that this was something to do with this fabled Ark of the Covenant when I was doing the remote viewing. It just had that feeling. The container had that feeling about it. And looking at my side sketches now, especially here in this stage, in the second session on page 7 onwards, 7, 8, and so on. Now that I know what the target is, it clearly to me looks like I may have been describing there or drawing the alleged resting place for a while of the Ark, which was the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem.
Yeah, actually, you do have a sketch that looks an awful lot like that.
Yes, because I've even got data there saying it's like a church as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that when you're doing remote viewing, a lot of the audience may not completely understand this, but when you're doing remote viewing, you have access to everything across time and space. So you can be picking up all types of stuff at different times and so on. So we're looking for the 10 Commandments at the time that Moses got it, but you also have access to all types of signature or accent points in history where that thing is. So and in this session, I wasn't convinced that this object was in that building. Actually, you had it underneath the building, like a tunnel going down.
Yes.
At the time that Moses got it, although it could have been.
I think this is probably later on, but with remote viewing as well, the remote viewer kind of sometimes moves to something that they find more interesting at the target, at whatever the target is.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, in my past, I haven't for a few years now, but in my past I did quite a lot of extensive research of the commandments in the Ark of the Covenant. So this is a topic that's close to my heart, kind of thing as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm moving on to your third session for this target, where you're describing the life at the target and any interaction with the artifact.
Yes.
And that's, you clearly got keepers, caretakers. I'm looking now at page 5 of your session. Males, a religious type of a feeling, then the idea of protection associated with it, and something dealing with an ancient type of thing. And you also got the idea that they had clothing, like draped clothing, dark clothing.
Yes, yeah.
And he was reminding you of things like monks, reminding you of things like esoteric types of stuff with like gowns on and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's very on target, and seems to be lots of data here talking about, you know, that there's a main male involved. He's a natural leader. He's looked up to and admired, feared by some though, and a sense of some kind of conflict or war that's happening with some other people, which makes sense knowing the Bible story and what happened to Moses and the journey he took his people on, all that kind of thing.
I'm looking now at your page 7 on your third session, and you go into something on a microscopic level of the object. And at first you say that the object radiates some type of an energy. It feels like almost esoteric. But then you're right, it feels like a living energy inside the object itself. And radiating energy. And so it's really interesting that you picked up all that with this target cue. And
because it essentially felt like the commandments or the object or the artifact that I kept picking up itself came from above, came from space or something like that. You know, it came from above, from God's space, in that direction, down to the people on Earth.
Yeah, you cover all that. In your next session, in fact, you cover about the Star Wars feel like of it. And that's when you focus in on the Moses personality, and then you really start talking about he's a religious type of person, he's dedicated, and you go into the whole aspect of him, a real natural leader. So that's when you really sort of, and he's very God oriented. So that's when you really sort of dive deep into that. And anyway, that was a pretty fascinating way to begin this. You actually did 5 sessions, so you know, and you got deeper and deeper into the Moses personality and the artifact and the interactions with this artifact as you went on. Anyway, that was 20A. You ready for 20B?
Yes, sounds great.
All right, so let me just copy and paste it in an email to you, so you'll be seeing it for the first time.
Okay.
And all right, and I'll label this one 20B.
Okay. Let me know when it's on its way, and I'll do a send and receive.
It is on its way. It probably will take another 10 seconds to get to you, but...
Yeah. Okay, I've got that.
Okay. So the audience, I'll read it to let them know what 20B is. Why don't you read it too while you read it silently while I read it out loud.
Okay.
The viewer will remote view the artifact that is known as the original 10 Commandments that was given to Moses, but at the current time in the year 2017. So this project happened in 2017, even though we're in 2018 now. That is, the viewer will perceive the location and surrounding environment of that artifact as it exists now. So this was a little different. I couldn't put the audience through a whole 10 Commandments type of thing without at least having one Indiana Jones, Laura Croft type of session that said, well, where is it now?
Yes.
And so the only thing I want to say about that's sort of weird is that I got the same results from you as everybody else. So actually, this is Aziz on the phone. He keeps calling at the time I'm having target reveals. Hey, Aziz.
Oh, are you doing another target reveal?
Yeah, I'm on Skype right this very second with Daz, and so how about we reconnect in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then we'll do the target reveal for you.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Anyway, so let me pass the greetings from Daz on to Aziz, and Aziz on to Daz.
Hi there. How are you? Hope you're
Okay.
well.
Daz just said hi. So Aziz, we'll communicate in about 15 minutes. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Okay. So Aziz is in Korea right now.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
that's
nice
where
place.
he is finishing up. He finished up all his work in Korea. He did part of it, most of it he did in Thailand, and now he's finishing it. He finished it up in Korea, and he's doing the target reveal. I told him to try to avoid this time period, but you know, I think when I was miscommunicating or misunderstanding the difference in time zones with daylight saving, Eastern Standard, whatever, and London, we sort of got a little confused. So he was calling now. But I'll communicate with him in a little bit. So let's go back to, so this one. This is one, I won't go into too much about what this target is in terms of the results. The only thing I want to say is that you got some pretty strange stuff. And
Yes,
the weirdest thing of all of it is that Aziz and Princess got pretty much the same really strange stuff. So apparently there is still there's still evidence that this object still exists, and it's not in a very happy place right now. But
Yeah, very interesting data. Strange though. I'll have to look at it in a bit more detail. I don't know what to say about that, but that part of it really. But it doesn't look like from a first glance at the data that it's in some kind of museum or anything like that.
It's in an active place, and first thing I thought when I saw all this stuff is it in risk of being destroyed or something? But but we'll see, and we'll let the audience watch.
I mean, it could be. I mean, I'm guessing here just at a first glance at the information. It looks like from what I've seen here, it looks like a volatile location, a city under attack and all that kind of stuff. That could quite easily detail the Middle East with all the conflicts that are going on there.
That's what I was thinking when I saw that. I said, well, if it's still in the Middle East, these sessions make a lot of sense. It would make perfect sense for a Middle Eastern location for definite. Yeah. Anyway, and there's a lot of details for those people who might be interested in being detective sleuths and trying to figure out where they think the thing might be.
Excellent.
Anyway, so let's go on to target 20C. This one's gonna be a bit weird for you, but you did a great job on it. I mean, a really great job on it. But it's. I hope you're sitting down for this one. I can see you are sitting down. I hope our audience is sitting down. But they're gonna have to actually see the presentations to actually appreciate the level of stuff that's in this, because this was a huge project. And all right, Daz, I have sent you 20C, so you'll get it in 5 to 10 seconds.
Okie dokie, I'll just check the email. Yep, it's just come through.
All right, so how about I read it out loud while you're reading it silently so our audience can hear it, okay?
Okay, yep.
20C. The background for this target is that there's a background to this, sort of a background to the target, and then the target actually is itself. So the actual target is explained after the background part. So here's the background to the target. The background for this target is that the Judeo-Christian Bible states in Exodus 7, verse 14 to 24, that there were 10 plagues that were experienced in Egypt during the time of Moses, and that these plagues led to the release of the Israelites from the land of Egypt. This target will not be tied to a literal biblical interpretation of the plagues or their cause. Rather, the plagues are considered things that happened of whatever nature that ultimately led to the release of the Israelites from the land of Egypt. So this target is really going after what happened when the Israelites left. Okay, so here's the actual target. For this target, the remote viewer will perceive evidence of the first of these plagues, as well as whatever happened to cause the first of these plagues. The remote viewer will perceive the plague as well as the cause of the plague. I have to say that as I looked at your sessions and I looked at the sessions for Aziz and Princess, and I was astounded. You had some very deep stuff. So let's just talk a little bit about what your reaction is to this type of thing.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking for the data for Target 20C, the first session. It starts straight off the bat with what looks like large clouds and waves of energy in motion, and that have volatile particles in it.
By the way, I have to say at this point that you, Princess, and Aziz got the same stuff. It was amazing to watch it. I was astounded to watch it. But yeah, it seems like I'm describing some kind of, looks like energetic moving life in waves, or clouds or waves or something. Clouds, almost like some of the other viewers described it as, Princess was describing it was like chemtrails. And if you look at your third session, that's when you clearly identified that this thing was alive, viral, and it was
disease.
There was disease thing.
But disease there and a virus. Very interesting.
Very interesting stuff. I mean, so it was great. The most amazing thing for me about this is when I have these targets, and all I do is tell you, Princess and Aziz, 20C, go after it. And I guess I got identical stuff from all three of you. I mean, the audience should know that I don't take this thing calmly. I look at this stuff when I get back and I say, holy blankety blank, are you serious?
And it's for us as remote viewers as well, it's just as astounding, seeing it on feedback here, because when we're doing the session, this target had I think I did 4 different elements, as you said.
You did 3 full sessions for this you mean for the whole thing? Yeah, but for
the whole thing.
For 20C, you did 3 sessions.
Yeah, but the whole project had 4 different components to it.
Yeah.
And at the time when we're doing it as a remote viewer, we're quite, or I on a target this complex, so I'm quite confused and mixed, because the first component of the target is completely different from the second component, which is different from the third, and from the fourth. So during the whole process of each project, especially a project this complex, I'm just there fuddled and confused, thinking, what could I possibly be viewing here? Because at one point it feels like it's some kind of viral disease, and then at another point it feels like it's some kind of communication device talking to God in a box.
Yeah.
So for something this complex, I'm like going, what the hell am I doing here? I'm all over the place. But now on review here, getting the feedback, it brings a clarity to the entire thing that makes you go, now I understand.
So this sounds like this type of project is something that's had a long interest in you historically, is that right?
Yes, not so much the... I'm not a religious person, it's not so much the religious story, but definitely the Ark of the Covenant and what that beheld, and the whole thing, a little bit about the whole thing about Moses and the booming voice from God, the commandments and all that kind of stuff, because although some people don't like it, being interested in ufology all my life, that whole biblical thing and many references in the Bible do have, or could have, an interpretation that could be alien stroke UFO in nature. So there are connections there that have taken me on different pathways through my life and research. But this project has been a lot, especially the actual ark itself and what's in the ark and where it might be, and how it was moved down through the centuries and owned by different people and used and stuff. It has been a long-term interest of mine, yeah.
Actually, you raised an interesting point that this concept, especially when you start looking at the data from Princess and Aziz when they describe this object, you raise the idea that that there may be a connection between the actual Ten Commandments and that object and the Ark of the Covenant. And once you see the sessions of Princess and Aziz, in particular Princess, who was describing the object in a sort of a different way, but it really does have sort of an arc type of a feel to it. I'm sort of wondering myself if that same object had been used in multiple times to do multiple jobs.
Well, it's always been a rumor that the broken tablets were placed in the ark, and that was used to transport it and protect it.
Yeah.
Made of gold, other materials, with the angels on top, and the fact that the ark itself and the commandments and everything weren't just a repository. They were a power unto themselves. They were a weapon that was carried before armies.
Yeah. That's interesting because, well, you're going to have to see for your, the audience has to understand that Daz has never seen the sessions or had any communication with Princess or Aziz when this project was going on, so he does not know what they got. But
in fact, the only time I've spoken to Aziz was literally just a few seconds ago when I said hi.
Oh yeah, that's the only time he's ever spoken to.
Yeah.
So, and also Aziz is in Korea. He's in the East. He's in Asia. So it's not like he could have talked to anybody, Princess or anybody. So he's had no communication with anyone either. So this is going to be fascinating for you to see all the sessions, because when you look at all of the sessions put together, a rather complete picture of this whole phenomenon, the Ten Commandments, the plagues, and then the other elements that are in the overall project. They start coming together in a sort of a weird and really weird, interesting, sometimes surprising, well, actually very surprising, sort of a freaky way. Anyway, Daz, I want to thank you so much. This was your target reveal.
Thank you very much.
And this will be coming out in a few weeks, so this is great.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing all the other data on this. It looks like an interesting project, and one that most definitely has a lot of feedback and history that relates to it. So people should be able to get a good picture.
That's great.